instances of paranormal phenomena have been reported in this desolate place. Events that may reflect the area's tragic past. Whatever they are, whatever you call them, ghosts, spirits, shades, specters, apparitions, there is not a corner of the world they do not inhabit.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Other Dangerous Podcast, where we talk all things paranormal. I'm Ken James, and this is Jason McKittrick.
Hey, folks.
And if it can haunt, how, or dwell in the dark, we want to talk about it. And tonight, we are talking about the hauntings and the ghost stories of New Orleans.
New Orleans, the old Crescent City.
New Orleans. Let the saints go marching in, baby.
Yeah,
That's
we're
what
gonna do all the cliche shit in this
Yeah,
episode.
oh, baby. Oh man, we're hitting a new level of cliche. We're troping. This is a trope episode, baby, and I'm ready for it. And I just want to announce that this for a little bit, just a little time. This is going to be one of our last together episodes, just for a little bit.
Oh, Ken's
Not very
making the
long.
announcement.
I was going to segue into it, buddy. I was going to let you take the reins if you wanted to say it.
No, it's all good.
Well, no, yeah, just a couple things going on, some big news coming our way, but we're not going to spoil it, I don't think.
Nah, I can.
Okay.
I'm moving to Pennsylvania.
Ow!
Yeah, it's been a long time coming. We're leaving the Garden State. Couldn't come at a better time, honestly. Right. We're getting the hell out of here. We got a nice sizable house. We're closer to Ken. That means we're gonna have a lot more. It's gonna be pretty much. I think it's gonna be all live recordings.
It's going to be,
It's going to be the beginning of a new studio for us, I
I
believe.
think it might be the beginning of People Like Studios.
Yes,
So,
that's
yeah.
the name of it. And if
Damn
you don't
Daddy
like that,
Productions.
don't listen.
Yeah, don't go away. Go away. But all right, guys. With that big announcement, and like I said, I'll get some fillers in there. We'll figure it out. But it's just a big move, big time for us. And yeah, baby, it'll be worth the wait. So you guys.
Oh yeah. It's not too long. Early July.
Right.
Early July, we'll have another episode, like full on the two of us
Exactly.
back at it. But I got to move from one state to another, so it's
And that's just like a little move. It's like a 2-hour move.
Yeah, and a family of 5, 3 kids.
Yeah.
Me and my wife. It's a big undertaking. I live among boxes right now, so it's
Well, hopefully your boy Jay gives your boy Ken the blessing to carry a couple episodes with some other little things, and we'll see what we can do from there.
Yeah, they'll be known as the other episodes. Years from now.
the dark episode.
The dark times.
I like set up a doll of you, and I just like talk to it, and then I make fun of myself as the doll.
Well, you don't want to give away your masturbation routine to our listeners.
Oh, geez. No, in that routine, there's 2 dolls of you.
Okay, right. I get it.
Yeah.
You want to be a Ken sandwich, I guess.
Exactly. Let's say I'm the meat and the cheese, apparently. Anywho, well,
Ew.
yeah. So, like, all things aside that we just talked about that might have been disgusting or fun for whoever's listening, we are going, like I said, we are going to be talking about the ghosts of New Orleans. But before that, I will be bringing you tonight's jump scare.
Oh yeah.
All right, thanks, Ken. So this one comes to, I believe, a relatively new listener, but a old friend of mine. Her name is Z. And Z writes, "Hey, Ken," because that's what she called me. "Okay, so here's my experience with the jinns. As long as I can remember, I've been surrounded by them, and my family just brushed it off and left me to deal with it. I remember being around 4 or 5 in my bed with crowds of them in my room. My grandmother said that I only saw the faces and I could still picture them in my head. After a while, the faces turned into colorful orbs that would move around the house. One day, I pointed it out to my brother, and he said, 'Yeah, I see it.' and we followed it around the house. I thought he was just going along with it until we both followed it into the bedroom and put our hands in the same spot where it was on the wall. There was another incident where there was some balloons in the house left over from a party, and at night, one of the balloons would float around the house. The balloon would float midair, not along the walls or ceiling, but midair like it was being held. The balloon would go from the living room up the stairs into each room, and it happened for many nights. My whole family witnessed this, and we would just sit in silence and watch it until it went back up the stairs. My last time seeing a jinn, I was 16. My mom worked an overnight shift, and I was home alone. There were white orbs bouncing from one side of the room to the other. I remember my eyes darting back and forth across the room until I had a panic attack and started crying. I cried until I started to get angry. I got so angry, I called them out and literally screaming and cursing them, and I wasn't afraid. And tell them to get the fuck out, and haven't seen or felt a jinn's presence since. Well, Z, thank you very much for that story. Jinns, huh? Jinns floating around.
Yeah, I mean the balloon, I'm just like, are we sure that wasn't Pennywise? I mean,
could definitely be, my friend.
I'd be interested to ask her what makes her think that they're jinn specifically. I mean, does she have a Muslim background?
Yes,
I know
yes.
Okay, so that's usually like they're swapping for demons.
Exactly.
So okay, all right, interesting.
And then also a shout out to her brother, who is a loyal listener.
I thought you were going to say her brother was a jinn.
No. But shout out to Big Fadge, my boy Fadges. He's a good dude. He's a listener, and he's always pressuring me to put up more episodes.
Okay.
He's one of the loyal listeners that's like, "What's up, man? Friday, we got him." And I love it. I love it. It's great.
We appreciate it. I wish we could I wish we were here just to do the podcast.
Exactly. But Z, thank you so much for the story. Fadge, thank you so much for the support. And guys, I hope you keep listening. And you got more, send them in.
Yeah, absolutely. We need more.
Yeah, we always need more.
Yeah. Oh, wait, what? Ken.
What?
This just came in across the Other Dangers news desk.
What? Is it a haunted headline?
I think it may just be.
Haunted headline.
All right, so this just came out what is this?
I think it was this week.
This week, also known as July 7th, 2019. It's fine.
Oh, really? No.
It's all good. You want to hear about underwater aliens? I mean, I know I do.
Yeah.
So a National Geographic photographer says he encountered underwater aliens more advanced than humans, quote unquote. The UFO subject has become an entirely liberal one in the last few months. All right, so UFOs are just everywhere these days.
Right,
we've got disclosure. We got them literally telling us that, there's UFOs, and everyone's like, I don't care.
Yeah, they changed the name too. It's not UFOs anymore.
Oh, it's a
UAP.
Yes.
UAPs now.
Yes, unidentified aerial phenomenon.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's even more broad because an aerial phenomenon could be, it could be anything. A meteorite could be an unidentified aerial phenomenon.
Yeah, exactly.
A balloon could be one.
Right.
Just pulling from the last story. I mean, this is some good stuff. I mean, you hear about, aliens, you have your classic abduction stuff, and then you have your other fun stuff that came out in like the late 90s, there's huge bases all the way underground. The entire Midwest is just all these creatures live down there and all that crazy stuff.
Different volcanoes or bases. They're just like trying to ore or mine for like different ores and different things they need.
Yeah. So, I mean, the story is about, it's just been coming to the surface. I mean, I think we're in another, resurgence of this stuff. It's like the 90s again.
Yeah.
So a member of the Nat Geo, we'll go with the Nat Geo instead of National Geographic, so I don't stumble over my words.
Yep.
And also member of the Ocean X team has encountered underwater aliens during his diving assignments. So according to the photographer, the alien beings resemble stingrays, although they appear much more advanced than humans.
fucking weird, man.
Yeah, I know. This is according to Luis Lamar, Nat Geo's director of underwater photography and member of Ocean X. According to his website, the underwater photographer, quote unquote, has sent robotic camera systems into one of the deepest ocean trenches on Earth, and he has logged hundreds of hours in crewed submarines, including on 5 expeditions with the U.S. Navy's deepest diving manned research submersible Alvin, diving beyond 12,000 feet. Deep in the abyss to photograph environments at the edges of the ocean frontier. However, Lamar's claims were presented in a short video made by his company where the underwater photographer speaks about the different life forms that he has encountered beneath the surface. So he says, I've seen giant deep sea arachnids, venomous sea snakes far offshore with like bright yellow heads, sharks in a frenzy, orcas swarming all around me. Some sort of, hyper advanced aquatic alien creatures inhabiting the shallow waters, which almost look like stingrays. He just throws it in there.
Yeah, right. Right.
But although he has faced many terrifying creatures, which cataloging the beauties of the oceans, Lamar still argues the oceans are an incredible place to explore and be in.
Yeah.
I mean,
we know more about the surface of the moon than we do with the bottom of the ocean.
It's true. It's true. A lot less surface. But, this is basically all there is to it. I mean, he's saying that there's, maybe there's sunken alien spaceships out there, but he kind of just put it out there saying like, I photographed all this stuff and you know what else is down there? Advanced stingray aliens. So
more advanced than humans, guys.
More advanced than humans, but that's it. No pictures. He's a photographer, no pictures.
And he's not like, what are they doing? It's not like we're not getting like a,
No.
like he's not like what made them more advanced? Are they like operating high speed technological underwater like cars?
Yeah. I mean, he didn't say in what area are they more advanced. Maybe they're just more advanced in like swimming. It's like, well, duh, they're stingrays.
Right. But see, that's why it's cryptic. That's why I want to crack that code. What made them more advanced?
I don't know, man. It's a fun story.
It's a good haunted headline.
It is, and
good haunted headline.
It is, and you know what? We're here to report the news, even if it's from 2 years ago.
Exactly. Well, it just popped up in the resurgence of the
I know
Congress questioning.
It's all starting to come up again because I mean, what was that? Was that last week when they were?
I think it was. No, it was 2 weeks ago. It was 2 weeks ago, midweek. Yeah. It was like Wednesday. They did Tuesday and Wednesday. They did like 2 days of questionings, and like some of the things that came out. Like I was looking at the people in my office, like, are you fucking hearing this right now? Like
they're like, yeah, but Johnny Depp's about to win his case. Like,
yeah, that was
aliens. I mean, all right. I mean, the aliens will be here next week. It's like,
right. Yeah, and they're like, cool, we're fine with it.
Yeah, I mean, that's it, man.
Yeah, that's it. That's what we got.
Yeah. So, Ken.
Yes, sir.
Nolans.
Nola.
Mm-hmm. Known by many as possibly the most haunted city in the U.S., although there's like 6 cities that claim that.
I have heard New Orleans is the most city many times.
Yeah, New Orleans, and it's either that or Savannah. Those are the 2 that usually duke it out.
Yeah, Savannah, you're right.
But I don't know, man. This one has the mystique, and it has vampires to boot. So
true that.
And voodoo.
Yeah, we'll get into that.
So this has been a long time coming. I mean, obviously, this is one of the bigger cities, one of the bigger topics. I mean, you can't talk about ghosts for too long without talking about New Orleans. I mean, it's got that mystique. It's got that it's got that spookiness to it with the hanging moss and the high heat and being surrounded by the swamps. It's it's
got the goods. It's got the goods.
It definitely has the goods. It's got it where it counts. So Ken and I have chosen 4 of our favorite haunts, and we're gonna throw them at you.
Yeah, and before we get into it, one thing is like you can't watch a ghost show that has like let's count down the top haunt. Like you can't watch one, and they all have at least like 3.
Yeah.
From like, you're like, all right, number 15 on the countdown, back to New Orleans, or like number 24, back to New Orleans. Like
and if they only have one, it's always the Lalaurie Mansion.
Yes.
Because of, I mean, it was popular before, but then of course, American Horror Story. So now everyone's like, oh, let's go there. Is this Kathy Bates' house? It's like, no, it's not.
No, it's not.
No, it's not. It was Nicolas Cage's house.
No. God damn it, it was.
It was. Yeah. Speaking of Nicolas Cage, if you haven't watched the movie Pig, check it out. It's really good.
I've yet to. I will.
Yeah, folks, if you haven't watched it, it is not what you're expecting. If you haven't watched it yet, it is not typical insane Nicolas Cage. I don't know why I brought that up.
Do I want to watch it then? If it's not,
it's awesome. It's a great movie. It's just not his typical, like, his skull isn't on fire. Oh fuck! Oh no! Jesus Christ! I'm not even talking about flaming ghosts.
You have. Hold on. Stop. Get down. Peter James.
Oh, okay. Big Pete, you there?
I'm coming through.
He's got us, man. You have to do that before mentioning.
I was talking about the movie Ghost Rider.
They're
don't
like
know
jumping
that.
The gun. They're
jumping
that.
the gun now.
Yeah. Well, they're waiting. They're waiting for the moment to strike.
You know what? Do you think? I think we're gonna be fine, because once I move from this house, maybe I'll leave this pestilence of the flaming craniums.
You can say, no, Peter's got us. No,
okay.
Yeah. Whew. Crazy. Well, because you channel them, they come over here.
That's true.
You gotta.
No.
Maybe you'll leave it. Maybe you won't. We'll see.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Sorry about that. I mean, I'm just trying to talk about normal shit.
Yeah. Ghosts in New Orleans.
Yeah.
Normal shit. The normal.
Yeah. All right, man. So what do you got for your first pick?
My
from the,
first one. Well,
Big Easy.
It's one that you just mentioned, my friend.
Ooh.
It's the haunted Lalaurie Mansion.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you read anything about the ghosts and hauntings of New Orleans, there's no doubt that you've heard about the Lalaurie Mansion. It is one of the most popular stops in New Orleans ghost tours. Sometimes people in the city won't even call it that, choosing to refer to it as 1140 Boyle Street as the haunted house instead. In fact, in New Orleans, the two are the same. Shows like American Horror Story have made an already infamous location that much more notorious. All right, so the ghosts of the haunted Lalaurie Mansion. For almost 200 years, there have been reports of paranormal activity coming from this house. It shouldn't surprise many that many of the hauntings attributed to this are the slaves of Madame Lalaurie and the ones that she kept on property. There is a room in Lalaurie Mansion where slaves are often kept, and reports of moaning coming from that room are common. God.
Oof.
Yeah. Phantom footsteps echo through the house with regularity. Many people who have stood near the house have reported feeling as if they were taken over by negative energy. And I haven't been there, but I've had that feeling. Now, despite all the ghost stories and paranormal happenings in and at the Lalaurie house, it would be a folly to assume that all of them could be traced back to Madame Lalaurie and her mistreatment of slaves.
Would be a folly.
It wouldn't it be a folly? A folly you do, maybe. In 1894.
Topical.
Woohoo! In 1894, a tenant who lived at the Lalaurie Mansion, the house was once converted into apartments, was brutally murdered in his room. They found his belongings ransacked as if someone had gone through them. The police assumed that he was a victim of robbery, and even though nothing of value was found or missing, an interesting account regarding this murder deals with the police interviewing neighbors about his disappearance. One of his friends claimed that he was having problems with spirits in the house, quote unquote spirits. His friends wrote it off as an imagination running wild with him, but he did say something interesting. He claimed that his friend told him that there was a demon in that house who wasn't going to rest until he had met his end, which the man did in this house. It is possible that at least some of the ghostly phenomenon can be resulted of this brutal murder. It certainly is possible. However, nobody will know for sure until the real paranormal investigation team can investigate this location. Only then, by communicating with the dead who still reside here, can we hope to get to the bottom of the truth of the ghosts at this Lalaurie Mansion. So the Lalaurie Mansion, for a very brief time, also a school for all girls during the mid to late 19th century. At first, it had been one of the few mixed schools in the city of New Orleans. But politics during the Reconstruction era were convoluted, and surely enough, soon after the school at 1140 Royal Street was converted into a strictly all-girls African-American primary school. Within a short amount of time, reports of physical assault came to light. We know that young girls would approach their teachers, tears streaking down their faces, and their sleeves rolled up. The exposed flesh of their forearms were scratched and bruised. Who did this to you? The teachers would demand. The answer was always the same: that woman. But these girls, and you know what? Once again, this is the girls coming into, teenage years, poltergeist kind of activity, it's all treated, but
Oh yeah.
these girls are young enough to probably not be aware of Madame Delphine and the devastating tragedy some decades earlier. Moreover, it was unlikely that the teachers themselves would tell 6, 7, or 8-year-olds about the starvation and immoral torture of slaves some decades before. One must wonder if the young girls were playing pranks on each other, or if the claims that some of the phantom women had scarred them was true. No memoirs exist from this period, just scattering accounts here, so oral tradition. Okay, so now, go baby, mediums read in the house. Although not everyone believes in psychics or mediums, there was one
body.
Yeah. Shut that, Zach. Although not everyone believes in psychics or mediums, there was one particular incident made known to the Ghost City tourist team in which someone on one of our ghost tours happened to be a medium. Throughout the entire night, she had sensed things about various locations before the tour guides even told the story.
I thought you were going to say that out of nowhere she just lit a bag of dog shit on fire and ran away.
Right. No, well, that'd be scarier.
Right.
But she how would she know these stories? There's
The
no
internet?
There's no internet. There's no books. But within the first sight of Lottery Mansion, the medium sucked in a deep breath. Such sadness, she whispered, as she rocked back and forth on her heels. Pulling out her phone, she proceeded to snap pictures of the mansion.
She proceeded to review the article she just read.
Yeah. The bricked up windows, she went on. That's not where the little girl fell out of. The tour guide paused, simply because she hadn't got to that part of the story yet. And it was about the little girl. She hadn't got to any of that at all. Nevertheless, she quickly recovered and said, "No, you're right. The story goes that Leah fell into the courtyard. As for the bricked up window, I suspect that someone did some interior decorating, but wanted to maintain the symmetry on the outside of the home." Quick recovery there, tour guide.
Yeah.
In the next few minutes, the medium experienced such heavy emotions, like the weight had settled down upon her shoulders. She sensed the spirits of a young boy who liked to play pranks on the living, and the spirits of a little girl who was often nervous. Did she feel any of the helplessness or anger? The tour guide asked. No, was the resounding response. What happened with the Lalaurie? Does that not visit the house any longer? Is it true? Have the spirits of the slaves who were once nearly starved to death in this house moved on? And if that is the case, who is responsible for all the reported hauntings? I mean, I got one little section here that I'll go into before, it goes off the complete rails. Let's get back into actual, ghost stories as opposed to mediums. But one of our guides was lucky enough to have experienced something at the haunted house on Royal Street. On one occurrence, our guide was giving and this is from the actual Ghost City tours that they do out there. On one occurrence, our guide was giving a ghost tour. They were at the Lalaurie Mansion, standing just directly across from the front door. To their right, another group was discussing the tragedies of the Lalaurie, some 50 feet away. But there, under the quiet moonlight, the story of 1834 was slowly unveiled. All of a sudden, our guide felt a tug on her messenger bag draped over her shoulder. She stopped amid her story and twisted to look over her shoulder, convinced that she might have found. Get that goddamn thing out of the camera, you son of a bitch.
What are you talking about?
Nothing. They won't see it. So anyway, it was hanging over her shoulder. She stopped amid her story and twisted to look over her shoulder, convinced that she might find a pickpocket or someone intent on stealing her things. Right in the middle of the tour, she exclaimed, as she regaled us with the story. No one was there, however, so she turned back around and got into character. No less than 10 seconds later, she felt the tug again. Harder this time. A sharp yank. Once again, she whipped around, but no one was there. This time, she told her tour what happened, and their faces, she said, were priceless. No doubt hers was too. 2 weeks later, at the corner of Governor Nicholas and Royal Street, our guide was out on the street again, bringing another tour around. The Lalaurie Mansion, of course, was the main hit. She had positioned her group under the set of street lamps burned out for weeks. She launched into a story, but the minute she said the name Leah, the lamps flickered on. Everyone in the group paused, and few yelping in delight. The guy went on with the show. When she said the name Leah again, those same lamps blew out. The light was gone. So, I mean, there's a lot more. I'm sure,
That's like one of the landmarks, like we were saying before. There's going to be stories abound.
Yeah, and visually the place is just it's
Oh, yeah.
oh my god. Even just looking at the place, you're like "Ugh." Like you know something's going on in there. Something
Yeah,
happened there.
it's classic New Orleans, right? It's that look, the French Quarter kind of look, right?
And they somehow managed to even make it even look more fucking foreboding. Like how does that work?
I think just the fact that Nicolas Cage owned it. I'm just gonna go with that.
Right. Now, was that during his Priscilla Presley years, or not
I believe
Priscilla,
I believe it was. It was during the time that he was buying islands and dinosaur bones and shit.
married to Elvis's daughter, like looking
Yeah.
into her weird Scientology bullshit?
Yeah. He's you know, it was a phase.
Right. But good for him for being one of the people who are like, yeah, that shit was weird. I had to get the fuck out of there.
Yeah.
Got to give him credit for that.
Yeah, when Nicolas Cage tells you that it was too fucking weird, that's when you
Yeah.
know it was pretty fucked up.
Yeah. Right.
Right. All right. So on to my first pick for this evening. I chose the Andrew Jackson Hotel. A haunted hotel in New Orleans isn't that unusual in and of itself, but the Andrew Jackson Hotel has more than one fabled ghost. The hotel, previously home to a boarding school and orphanage for boys, and is said to be one of the most haunted in the city, of course, dating back to a tragic fire that killed 5 boys, and the hotel may have attracted more ghosts since then. So in 1794, the Great New Orleans Fire raged through the city, destroying over 200 structures, including the hotel. At the time, the establishment was home to several boys who had previously lost their parents during a yellow fever epidemic, and 5 perished in the fire. Given that the hotel was already full of familial sadness, it's no wonder that the energy of those boys, who only wanted a better life, remained after the terrifying fires that devoured much of the city. This is the point where, the spookiness happens. Since then, reports that the hotel has had some very long-term residents have multiplied. Guests have reported hearing the boys play outside when no children were visible, and one boy in particular, named Armand, seems to like to hang around the guests and play tricks. So I came across this one pretty cool story where it's like this married couple stayed, and they were like, they got like the right rooms, like, oh, this is the most haunted room, stay here, stay forever.
Right.
And like they did the whole spiel, and then like they're done their trip, and they're like, you know what, we think this place is bullshit. They said it to the front desk.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, okay, well, we don't guarantee haunting experiences, but sorry you didn't have anything happen to you. So a couple days later, they get and this is back in the 80s apparently, they get a letter that they went home and developed their pictures. All the pictures were stuff they took pictures of, except for a couple. There was the last picture on the roll was a picture of them in bed taken from the ceiling.
Oh no, it wasn't.
Yeah, man.
Oh.
So they apologized and they said, yeah, that's there's no way. How could that? Who took that picture?
Yeah, right.
I know what it was. It was a ghost. I'm sorry.
Or it was a incubus or a succubus.
Incubus. Ray, you're chanting. But that's not all. Guests have also reported a caretaker fluffing pillows and cleaning rooms when there's no caretaker on duty.
Oh my god!
The old ghostly caretaker, huh?
Right.
So the hotel's strange past got stranger after the fire. A U.S. federal courthouse was erected on the site of the burned hotel. This is where General Andrew Jackson was tried and held in contempt. He later went on to become president. Okay.
Like you do.
It seems to be a fucking trend, I guess.
Yeah.
The courthouse was demolished and the current building was erected in 1890, but some say that after General Jackson's death, he returned to the hotel that was built in its place. So you have a couple of options if you'd like to learn more about the hauntings of the Andrew Jackson Hotel yourself. One is you can go ahead and stay there and risk being pushed out of bed or having another spectral joke played on you. But if you'd rather, avoid the hands-on experience, you could take one of the many ghost tours that takes place in the French Quarter, basically every night of the week.
Right.
Yeah.
Basically, no, every night it's going.
Okay, every night,
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah. So that's the old Andrew Jackson Hotel.
Do you think it was Andrew Jackson himself who was like,
Absolutely.
get up on this roof here and get this picture of this sleeping couple?
Absolutely. It was. Come on.
Yeah. Andy was up there getting nasty.
Yeah. It's no joke, man.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to joke.
A little bit. I mean,
A little bit. I did a little bit. Did a little
insulted him a
bit.
little bit.
Nah. A little bit. Nah, I did a little bit. A little bit. All right. So I guess I'll move on before we get too into Goodfellas here. Sure. R.I.P. Ray Liotta. But all right. So mine is if people don't know about Marie Laveau, all right, this is like the stain of voodoo on New Orleans, right? It's like
Allegedly.
this is what they say. Like this lady, she was the voodoo queen, man. But in 1974, a live recording titled Marie Laveau, sung by country singer Bobby Bare and written by Shel Silverstein and Baxter Taylor, made to the top of the U.S. Billboard Hot Country Singles. Nearly 40 years later, Marie Laveau was again thrust into mainstream pop culture, American mainstream pop culture. With the success of the American Horror Story Coven, even though the series was plagued with historical inaccuracies, such as non-existent relationship between Laveau and Mad Madame Delphine Lalaurie, in the end, the good business, sometimes Maria Laveau surely would have appreciated it. A long-standing rumor, perpetuated by many tour guides to this day in New Orleans, is that Marie was a hairdresser, despite the fact that there is no archival evidence that she ever was. Perhaps the explanation for this rumor is simplistic in nature. Perhaps it was a cover story used by some of the elite women of Marie's large client list, who may have been concerned about associating with a scandalizing voodoo priestess. Regardless, Marie would go to their homes to perform her tasks. While there, she would earn favor with the slaves by giving them charms, prayers, and even spells. In return, the slaves would tell Marie secrets about their masters, in which Marie used to, quote-unquote, fool her clients with the incredible insights that the spirits shared with her. And she, of course, was willing to help with any issue for a fee.
Marie Laveau, you crazy.
Yeah, you crazy. With her unique blending of voodoo rituals and Catholicism, it did not take long before Marie Laveau became known throughout the city as the voodoo queen of New Orleans. So the history of her is to comprehend the importance of Marie Laveau, you need to start at the beginning, where she came from and how she was raised. Her story actually Her story actually begins with her grandmother, Catherine, who was taken from Africa at only 7 years old. Catherine was unbreakable and eventually bought her freedom out of slavery. Catherine became a businesswoman, owning her own home and tirelessly working to have her 5 children set free. Catherine's daughter, Margaret, Marie's mother, was owned by her own father, which was a twisted case of reality during the 18th century, leading all the way up to the Emancipation Proclamation. Marguerite was freed from her father at 18, but was then forced into an arranged relationship with an older rich white man. She had 3 children by him and tried to remain positive despite her situation, but she still secretly wanted more and dared to audaciously wish for love. Marguerite believed she had found some love with a man named Charles Laveau, who happened to be the son of a rather important New Orleans politician. Thereafter resulted the unexpected pregnancy. Their daughter, Marie, was born on September 10th, 1794, or 1801. We don't know. Fearful of what might happen to Marie, if discovered, Marguerite made the hard choice to leave her daughter to be raised by her mother, Catherine, and then return to an arranged relationship. Marie had a peaceful childhood thanks to her grandmother. When she turned 18, Marie met a married Haitian immigrant, Joaquis Paris. Unfortunately, we know very little about the short time in her life, but one day, Joaquis abruptly disappeared. Did Joaquis die? Or was his disappearance more selfish in nature, perhaps abandoning his new wife, Marie, in order to return to Haiti? Or were there circumstances behind the disappearances of a more unspeakable, sinister nature in which he was murdered? Joaquis and Marie were married only a year, but we know just a little about their day-to-day life as we do about Joaquis Paris in Paris in Ill-Timed Vanishing Act. Reportedly, just before the year 1826, Marie met Christophe Galpion, 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 a white man of French nobility who...
Hey man, it's all fun and games here.
Right, whom she entered into a relationship with. Of an approximate 15 children she birthed during her time with Galpian, there were only 2 surviving children, Marie Galpian, born in 1827, and Marie Galpian. The latter of the 2 would eventually continue her mother's work and become famous voodoo priestess of her own merit. But for Marie I and her relationship with Galpian, they remained dedicated to one another until his death in 1850. And from that account, Marie never did strike up another relationship before her death 30 years later. Marie lived in an old abode cottage on 152 Rue Street, and the location today is marked as 1020 St. Anne Street. Legend has it she received the home from helping an affluent man free his son from murder charges. It has been told that Marie held 3 peppers in her mouth while infusing them with her intentions. She then hid the peppers under the seat of the presiding judge and then nailed a cow's tongue under the seat of the prosecutor, which apparently impaired his speech, left him unable to adequately present his case.
Wait, wasn't this in the Devil's Advocate?
It seemed very similar to
he
something
put nails in
the
the tongue or something, and then the guy couldn't talk.
Right, because the devil was all over that motherfucker.
Okay.
But anyway, so the son was found innocent. Marie received her new home. The legend may be erroneous, but as it's more historically plausible, then the land was actually purchased by Marie's grandmother, Catherine, before passing it down through the generations. Now we'll get to the ghost of the house. Now that we have that there, and then I'll move on from there. But there's the tomb that's haunted too.
Hey man, you picked her. You gotta do
you're
it.
right. Okay, I'll do it. All right. So about 1875, Marie became sick and confined herself to her home on Rue Street Anne. According to the various newspaper accounts, Marie was so sick that she rarely emerged from St. Anne by the end of her life. The original Marie Laveau house was torn down in the year 1903, and the new structure was built on the same foundation as the original, making some believe that the residual energy from Marie Laveau still calls this location home. People have claimed to have seen her walking down St. Anne Street wearing a long white dress, her trademark turban headdress, which supposedly had 7 points folded into it to represent a crown. She is the queen of voodoo, after all. Marie's spirit and those of her followers are known to still perform rituals at the site of her old house. One source even claims that the rituals often include animal sacrifices for protection. The new home is now used as a vacation rental. A few years ago, a couple decided to come to New Orleans for a relaxing vacation and thought it would be interesting to stay at the old site of the Laveau house. After touring the French Quarter,
pasty motherfuckers,
pasty white Nicolas Cage looking motherfucker. So anyway, after touring the French Quarter, for a while, they returned to the house for the night. Later, the sounds of chanting and even drumming cut through the silent night, and the couple wrongfully assumed the noise was coming from the outside. The husband checked outside to find nothing but dead of night. Curious, he walked around the block and towards the park, but still found nothing but silence. When he entered back into the house, he came to the realization that the sound of the chanting and drums were emanating from the living room. Oof. The couple, unnerved by the strangely eerie experience, decided they weren't going to sleep there that night, and they promptly left. Upon returning the following morning, they walked to the center of the living room, where the wife noticed a single pristine feather laying on the floor. The couple checked all of the windows in the house, but they were all locked shut. Needless to say, they left and never returned. Now, a single pristine feather was Marie Laveau's signature object and is considered to be a great relic among voodoo practitioners. Feathers are believed to bring the one who discovered it great luck. On the other hand, if it had been discovered on one's pillow, it is said that the feather would bring grave sickness or death. According to the legend, this ritual involves the placing of a chicken's head into a victim's pillow. As the time goes by, the hex takes hold, producing a single feather on top of said pillow. One man recounted the stay at the house, recalling that he was just woken up from a nap when his gaze landed on a shadowy figure standing in the corner of the room, glaring at him. Another account comes from a visitor of Marie Laveau's house. She remembered waking up one morning in her second night at the house, and suddenly she became frightened as if she was physically unable to get up, as if someone was holding her down. Luckily, for those 2 individuals, they did not find a feather on their pillow. She died. There's a lot. I'll just
she could have her own episode. I mean, she's a huge subject.
So there are also a bunch of encounters with her, post mortis. One infamous
mid-coitus?
Mid-coitus. Poor guy. Jorge. One infamous ghostly encounter took place during the Great Depression. As the story goes, a homeless man fell asleep on top of a tomb in a cemetery. But shortly after falling asleep, he suddenly awoke to the banging of drums and eerie chanting. He happened upon the tomb of Marie, where he encountered the ghost of nude men and women dancing around the tomb. In the center, it was Marie and her beau Zombie, Z-O-M-B-I. Maybe I'm pronouncing that wrong, but we'll go with that. A man named Elmer Banks had another experience at St. Louis Cemetery Number 1 in the mid-1930s when an old woman came into the drugstore where he was a customer. For some reason, she left the proprietor feeling frightened as he quickly proceeded to run off to the back of the store. The woman laughingly asked Elmer Banks, "Don't you know me?" Which he replied, "No, ma'am." The woman, I was trying to do scary. "No, ma'am." The woman, angered by his answer, slapped him across the face. She then jumped up in the air and levitated out of the door over the top of telephone wires. When she passed over the graveyard wall of St. Louis Cemetery Number 1, she vanished into thin air. You might imagine Banks was terrified, and the sight of a levitating woman left him passed out cold. He was revived by the store proprietor, who gave him whiskey and informed him that was Marie Laveau. You fucking idiot.
Right.
But there's plenty more, like I was saying, and I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I think that could just be a little taste because she deserves her own episode. I mean, she's fascinating.
Yeah, there are some more like sightings of people that like after Katrina. There's people. Oh man, like there's this really crazy one for like walking up to this guy, his wife and his kid. Like, yeah, it's crazy. It's nuts. It's one of those ones that like you find any resident, and ask them about it, and they'll be the first ones to tell you, no, this is legit.
Yeah, and then like somehow she's still alive, but she's able to like walk between worlds. So like like maybe there's portals in that cemetery, and she just walks out every once in a while and then walks back in. It's
and there's even theories about like because they named the kids the same thing, and they had all these kids, and like they're like saying that this all the same like person being reborn over, like that kind of
thing. There was that. I remember that there's that story where it's like they named them all Marie, so then like when one was starting to get too old, she'd start dressing exactly the same as and then like say, and then she was would just like take over the job, and then like most people wouldn't notice, and then it was like, isn't she like 187 years old by now? I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, they're like, she's just been here.
Yeah, it's like Maggie Smith, like she's just when she made Hook, she was 184. So how old is she now?
194. That was a long time ago.
100. She's like 210 at this point.
Yeah, she ages different.
She does. She hits different.
Yeah, right, she does. Yeah, she's got that. She's got that old lady drip. Yep. That we all look for.
I don't know, man. Old lady drip doesn't sound very appealing.
I didn't even think about that. Ooh.
Yeah. Sorry, old ladies in this podcast.
Yeah, they that's a devil drip, dog. It's a ghostly drip.
Okay. All right, got it. All right, so next we're headed to the haunted Lafitte's blacksmith shop.
Oh no.
Oh yeah, on Bourbon Street sits a quiet and unassuming building. Not only is it one of the oldest buildings in the French Quarter, it is also one of the most haunted. Lafitte's blacksmith shop has a long haunted history. For years, there have been reports of ghosts, even what is possibly the ghost of Jean Lafitte haunting this building, which is now a bar. Spirits with spirits.
Love it.
Yep. So Lafitte's blacksmith shop gets its name from Jean Lafitte, who was a pirate and privateer who called New Orleans home in the early 1800s. A pirate and a privateer were essentially the same thing. A pirate worked for themselves while a privateer worked for government. They both looted and robbed and killed. One was just socially acceptable. The other was not.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lafitte is believed to have been born either in France or the French colony of Saint-Domingue.
I like that. Saint-Domingue.
Saint-Domingue. I don't know, man. I'm trying. It's French.
It's all fun and games.
Exactly.
It's all silly times here.
Mm-hmm. All silly times. Silly Times podcast with Jay and Ken. Whee! Wear your footy pajamas and listen. By 1805, he operated a warehouse in New Orleans to help disperse the goods smuggled by his brother Pierre Lafitte. After the United States government passed the Embargo Act of 1807, the Lafitte's moved their operations to an island in Barataria Bay, Louisiana. I hope I got that right. By 1810, their new port was very successful. The Lafitte's pursued a successful smuggling operation and also started to engage in piracy. Lafitte became a local legend during the War of 1812 when he helped Andrew Jackson, there he is again, push people out of bed at the hotel. Oh, no. He helped Andrew Jackson defend the city of New Orleans from capture at the hands of the British. Lafitte became a local legend during the War of 1812 when he helped Andrew Jackson defend the city of New Orleans from capture at the hands of the British. Today, you'll see many landmarks and buildings with his name in New Orleans. A local hero.
Yeah.
Local hero. So, when it comes to the ghosts and hauntings at Lafitte's, it comes as no surprise that the ghost most often associated with this building is the ghost of Jean Lafitte himself.
Jean Lafitte.
Yeah, he's a character in Disney too, which is interesting.
They got a lot of interesting stuff going on.
They do, you know. I heard there's these like fucking prisons and underneath the ground, and they get like it gets weird.
That's where they keep the employees.
It's where they but I hear it gets weird after. Well, you know what? We should do an episode Dark Side of Disney.
Ooh, I'd love that.
Yeah, like we'll make up like 80% of it.
Sure.
I love it. Okay, keep that in.
Yes.
Interestingly, he appears as a full-bodied apparition. Full-bodied apparitions are not as common as movies would make them out to be.
Right.
Most of the time,
FBAs are rare. FBAs are rare.
damn right. Most of the time, ghosts are often seen as a mist, sometimes even a shadow person. A full-bodied apparition would appear no different to you than a living person, except in this case, our ghost is dressed in sailor's gear. He's up to no good.
No good.
The ghost of Jean Lafitte has never interacted with anyone. He has never said a word to anyone. He simply stands in the dark corners, staring at people until he is noticed, at which time his ghost disappears into the shadows. Now, this hasn't happened just one or two times. It seems to be a fairly common occurrence here at the blacksmith shop. He's always seen on the first floor, most of the time near the fireplace that is inside. So if you're going to be in New Orleans for another night, maybe you'll want to come hang out for a chance encounter with Mr. Lafitte himself. Even if you don't have a run-in with the most famous ghost with haunts here, the atmosphere is great. You'll notice that the entire place is lit with candles. There's no electricity in most of the building.
Love that.
I want to go there, man. That's fucking cool.
And get fucking drunk as shit.
Hell yeah. On the second floor of the blacksmith shop, there seems to be another ghost which calls the bar home. Nobody knows who this ghost is. We only know that is the ghost of a woman. It could have been someone who lived there. Rumor has it that there was a woman who lived here in the early 1890s who killed herself upstairs. We cannot find any verifiable sources on this, but it's it's possible. That's the legend.
Was she hacking?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Well, when you have no information, you can just make up whatever you want.
Right.
Yeah, especially in the early 90s when you couldn't get fact check right away.
Yeah, that was the boom. That was the boom time of
It sure was.
coming up with stories.
Yeah, Tim Waite was a god among men at that point.
God, I miss him.
Yeah. So this ghost is a little more mysterious. She has only shown herself to people on a handful of occasions. However, she is very talkative. All right. So imagine sitting in one of the rooms upstairs, by yourself late at night, and hearing a woman whisper your name into your ear.
I don't want it.
Yeah, I mean, if that doesn't send shivers up your spine, I guess not much else will. But that's what she likes to do. She probably just wants to let you know she is there and that she knows who you are, not realizing that by doing so, she has probably made a few people have a panic attack.
I know what that's about.
Yep. So then, aside from ghosts, there's one more phenomenon that's associated with Lafitte's blacksmith shop.
Let's hear it.
So apparently there's phantom red eyes. Okay. We have something here which is often seen that has bright red eyes. There's never a body, never a voice, just piercing red eyes. They're always seen in the dark corners of Lafitte's. As soon as you make eye contact with it, the eyes will freeze on you before fading into nothing. So ghosts don't have red eyes. People have an unfortunate habit of lumping everything paranormal into this category of ghost. This isn't the case. Red eyes are a phenomenon reserved for demonic hauntings.
Oh, no.
So, if it's demonic, better call Zach.
He's going to take care of it.
Yeah, so...
GAC, Ghost Adventures crew, they're coming to save the day.
So you better move them feet over to Lafitte's.
You better... You're an asshole.
Yeah, you like that?
I do. I do.
I spent all night coming with it.
That really, you were like planning that?
I was. Oh man, I was.
You're
just
like
not-
sculpting. You're sculpting. You're like, I'm gonna
I was like,
fucking kill
I was
him.
like, I need a zinger. I need a fucking zinger.
I'm gonna kill him with this later. Man.
Yeah.
They're gonna love this. On the
Now,
podcast.
move them feet over to Lafitte's
and get
Yep.
drunk.
and have a spirit with the spirits.
There it is. They should take that. You should send that to them.
I should send that to them, and then when I go in there, identify myself as the person, they just stab me right in the neck.
You like offer it to them like,
Yeah,
hey,
it's like, here you go. You guys want to use this? And they just stab.
Yeah, and
they
some
have a new ghost.
Some guy says some like, he's like malfu punta, and then the walks
Yeah.
out. Yep. And then like barrels explode. The bad
And
guy
honestly,
dies.
I had it coming. So
Yeah, right. I get it. It's okay.
Yeah.
I appreciate what you did there, buddy.
yeah, I mean, if you do, what do you got next?
Well, what I got next is we skipped over for the last one. This is a big one. This is Congo Square. Fucking yeah. So if you want to talk about Black and African American culture in New Orleans, then you need to talk about the Congo Square. The area has served as a gathering spot for the city's Black population since the 1700s. African American slaves used the square to assemble and perform their native rituals. The relatively lenient but still brutal French monarch allowed the slaves to gather in Congo Square, which at the time was far from the city center. Slaves danced, performed rituals, and sold their wares in the square. Some were even lucky enough to buy their own freedom. The square had a huge influence on music, along with the larger Treme neighborhood. The African rhythm were later incorporated into jazz, and many say Congo Square was the birthplace of the genre, which I felt this was important to talk about it because music, and we get so much from New Orleans, and birthplace of so many good things that we have today.
Hell yeah.
So Congo Square was also known as a hotspot for voodoo, and the famous Marie Laveau, which I previously talked about, would often practice her rituals there. Although many voodoo rituals at the square were relatively watered down for the white tourists, pasty white, Nick Cage looking. Some of the rituals were more intense, involving blood, severed body parts, and animal sacrifices.
I mean, what else?
What else? One voodoo priestess in particular was named Zeronius.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's why I stopped and I got dizzy from the name.
Wow.
She was known for her intense nighttime rituals under a haunted sycamore tree. Love it, mark it, call it fact. People came to Zeronius for help when they wanted to discreetly dispose of their enemies. While her rituals were popular and brought her prosperity, her reign was abruptly ended by the shenanigans of a drunken sailor. Oh, no.
No, never suggest that Zeronius is erroneous.
Yeah, exactly.
That's two.
You weren't working on that one. That was on the fly.
Nope. Amen.
All right. So the French monarchy and colonial authorities took a slightly different approach to slavery. While the Protestant colonies attempted to destroy every remnant of African culture, French allowed the slaves to speak their native languages, practice their rituals and their spirituality, and generally did not try to force their assimilation. This was until the passage of the Black Codes, or Code Noir, in 1724. Although the laws were meant to force conversions to Roman Catholicism and restrict the activities of the people of color in the French colonies, the effects were quite complex. Code Noir gave Black slaves free days, quote unquote, usually on Sundays and religious holidays where they were allowed to roam freely. They were given the day off as a part of a campaign to convert the slaves to Roman Catholicism. This had a mixed effect, as slaves attempted to hide the practices of their African religions using Catholic imagery, giving rise to voodoo. Free blacks were also restricted, though they enjoyed higher standards of living compared to those of the European colonies. Now, shortly after Code Noir was passed, slaves and free blacks began to gather in what became known as Place des Negres. The area was far from the city's center at the time, and as the French colonists banned blacks from gathering in other parts of the city. These gatherings quickly gained steam, with over 500 people in attendance every Sunday. Traditional African dances were held at the Places des Negres, a site that attracted the curious eyes of white tourists from other colonies. Nowhere in any Protestant colonies were African traditions practiced as they were in Louisiana. Drum circles, gourds, and bright colors prevailed as dancers moved to the rhythm of their homeland. The gatherings also served as a market for slaves and free blacks. Although the slaves were forbidden from owning or selling personal property, colonial authorities turned a blind eye to the practice, as it stimulated the local economy. They sold items like fish, fruit, and homemade jewelry. Some slaves were even able to buy their freedom at the markets. The gatherings at Place de Negres helped spur the development of voodoo. African spiritual traditions were kept alive as slaves were allowed some freedom to exercise their traditions. Still, they lived under a Roman Catholic monarchy, so Catholic imagery was often used to disguise African spirituality. And once I'm done with this, we'll go into that. But the mix of religious practices gave rise to voodoo, which became an important part of life in Congo Square. The infamous Marie Laveau often practiced voodoo rituals at the square, and she would do it for curious onlookers. While these were generally watered down for tourists, she had a secret spot nearby where she held more in-depth rituals. That's cool. Like, meet me right back. I'll show you everything.
Yeah.
As New Orleans expanded, the city grew around Congo Square, and the area was named so for the heavy influence of the people from the Congo. The square became a focus of the French Quarter. After the Haitian Revolution, life around the square saw a revival as African slaves and free blacks from Haiti brought their culture to Congo Square. The American takeover of Louisiana put an end to the gatherings at Congo Square. After the Louisiana Purchase, the white-only circus was erected at the square, but the gatherings continued. The Treme Market sprouted up nearby, which pulled merchants away from the square. By 1840, police and local authorities had begun cracking down on gathering of dance rituals by the outset of the Civil War, and the gatherings had all but ceased. The distinctly African rhythm heard at Congo Square influenced an entire generation of musicians who grew up nearby. Young black instrumentalists living in Treme were no stranger to the sounds of the drum circles every Sunday night. The habanero rhythm, also known as the Spanish chinge, became a necessary component of jazz music as young musicians incorporated the sound into their music, spurring the birth of an entire genre. The music of Congo Square gave rise to the overchurching musical culture of Treme. So that's important. I feel like that's a big deal. Especially this is such a historical landmark for our country and just the melting pot that we are. And of course, it was spurned from darkness, but it has such an important impact on music as we know it, and not pop bullshit, but real music.
Yeah, I mean, I think it calls back to our Robert Johnson episode.
Absolutely,
where it's like there's always that in that music that's that transcends its labels or whatever you want to say. There's always a spooky element to it, right?
Yep.
And it's just like there's something else there. It's like, there's a person making notes with this, but like the fact that it's these vibrations occurring there and all those vibrations that occurred there through whatever kind of music and ritual and the combination of the two, something's to be said about that.
Absolutely. And human suffering inspiring power,
Sure.
inspiring the transcendence of actual belief in oneself. But
lemons into lemonade.
Exactly. So I'm just going to go into the last part here about some of the hauntings. While Congo Square was a place where slaves and free blacks could celebrate their culture in relative freedom, the presence of voodoo meant that the hauntings and spooky occurrences were abound. Many of the voodoo rituals were watered down as to not scare away the white tourists, but many of the rituals, especially those held after dark, often got bloody because the white, pasty Nick Cage... No, okay.
Easy.
Mrs. Zeronius was a voodoo priestess who became well known for her late rituals. She was relatively well known, and her success brought her prosperity. Zeronius advertised rituals and charms that were meant to bring discreet success, where her followers would be able to surpass their natural limits and dispose of their enemies in a quiet fashion. Wishing for greater success and publicity, Zeronius moved her occupations to the sycamore tree in Congo Square. It had a large hollow at the base, large enough for someone to stand in. She claimed the tree was enchanted by a wizard from the east. Now I'm thinking it's Zernius. Z-O-U-R-I-N. I'm just going to go with Zernius. Zernius' rituals became more intriguing when she took residence to the sycamore tree. She incorporated human and animal remains in her stews. often asking for
In her
items
what?
like, in her stews, often asking for items like chicken feet, frogs' legs, and toes of dead dead slaves.
Jesus.
Yeah, she always began her sycamore tree rituals after midnight, and she had several assistants who were prepared the area for upcoming rituals. She usually had her clients stand in the tree's hollows while the stew boiled in a bowl and the ground in front of them. The payment for the ritual was placed under the bowl. She saw some success at the sycamore tree until she encountered a drunk sailor from a U.S. ship anchored in Mississippi. The sailor approached the ritual at the reluctance of the voodoo priestess, who instructed her assistants to drive him off. The sailor drunkenly marched on while the witches hurled insults. He then reluctantly asked her to place a curse on another sailor who had put him in the brig. She agreed, and the sailor pulled out a $10 bill and stepped into the tree. Looking down at the pile of bills, coins, and jewels under the bowl of humans and animal remains, he decided to make a break for it. The sailor tossed the steaming concoction at her, burning her flesh, then smashed her second in command with the bowl. He took the money and ran. She and her assistant took off, not wanting further confrontation. The sailor, laughing with the spoils, pocketed the goods and spent it on more booze. Motherfucker. Motherfucker. And there's a lot more to go in that one, and I
gotcha.
I hasten to say,
Well, I mean, with all these things, this is just an introduction. We're just giving you a couple little meaty morsels.
Yeah.
Absolutely. If this is interesting to you, go read some more, go watch some more, dude, YouTube
And
has everything these days.
And request full episodes about them for us.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll get in there.
Sure. We'll get our fingers in there. We'll get, rip it wide open. I don't know what I'm saying.
Okay. All right.
So next up, we have the Charity Hospital of New Orleans. The hospital, which was opened on May 10th, 1736, was founded on a grant. The grant was from Jean-Louis. He was a shipbuilder and sailor from France. However, he would die in New Orleans a year before the hospital would open. Too bad they didn't have a hospital.
All right.
Weird. The last thing he wanted to do before he died was to provide a hospital for those who were the indigent in New Orleans. He did just that with the Charity Hospital. The hospital was first opened and named the Hospital of St. John. It can be found in the French Quarter today. This was formerly known as Bienville and Chartres Streets. French gets me.
French gets everyone but the French, bro.
Right.
Don't feel bad.
The hospital would be built a mere 18 years after the city would be founded by the French. It was also the second oldest continuously operational hospital in the U.S. The hospital was very popular, and soon after the building, another facility was built. The second facility is located on Basin Street. It was built in 1743. 1785, another third facility was built. It was then named San Carlos Hospital. It was named to honor the King of Spain because New Orleans was then ceded to Spain in the year 1763.
Yep.
So in 1809, a fire broke out. The hospital was destroyed. There was no building left for the hospital, and the temporary hospital would be found at Cabildo for about a month.
Cabildo.
Cabildo.
All right.
I don't know, man.
Yeah.
It's all French to me. It was then at a residence for about 6 months. It would be held at a plantation for several years until the fourth hospital was built. New location would be at the end of Canal Street. This project was completed in 1815. However, the hospital was criticized because it was underfunded and inadequate. So, wow. So 1858, yellow fever became an epidemic. Ask me about the yellow fever at the end of this episode.
Sure.
Okay. There were 2,727 patients that were admitted with yellow fever, and close to 1,400 had died from it. That year alone, over 11,000 patients were seen. New Orleans would keep expanding, and the demand for medical services was growing. All right. So fast forward a little bit. I mean, it had several sites. I mean, and the whole point is that just this place is just full of bad luck.
Right.
In 1968, the hospital would lose a malpractice case. There was all this crazy stuff that's been going on, and then Hurricane Katrina happened. It had severe damage from flooding. People were evacuated. All this insane stuff. So everyone was evacuated after the hurricane hit. But then, it it became like a I don't know, almost like a local thing to go check it out because it looked like something out of a zombie movie. Like there was all these people would try to sneak into the hospital to get photos and see what was still in there. So like people said that there was all like still like medical specimens and like all the stuff that's in there. So it immediately became like the haunted house on the hill kind of thing.
Yeah.
So today the building stands empty, towering over the city. It was abandoned after Hurricane Katrina. The building has been empty for over a decade at this point, and there have been some crazy occurrences since the building has been abandoned. So the big one, and this is almost like a local legend. This is almost like a Poe toaster kind of thing. If you know what that is. One of the most common things that have been happening is seeing the lights of a Christmas tree appear in the empty building. This has been caught on camera. The lights would just appear in a single room while the rest of the building was dark. So if you do a quick search, Charity Hospital of New Orleans Christmas tree, you'll get the picture. And it's
no pun intended.
Yeah. Posted on social media, and it sparked controversy because people are like, oh my god, like it's like, oh, are they, are these the ghosts of patients past? I would like to think, aside from the fact that it's just somebody plugging in a battery powered LED Christmas tree to fuck with people, but it has no electricity in there. Yeah, no man, battery power, weird.
Yeah, it's weird.
Could it be a glimpse at the ghost party?
Whoa.
Me and Ken's big theory.
The Halloween, or I'm sorry, the Hollywood, like the ghost party on the other side.
The ghost party, yep. At any haunted location, there's a door that you could go through, and you could go to the ghost party. Remember this?
Yeah, I do remember this. I remember this exactly, and I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say Stranger Things has stolen our idea. That any moment
They've
of haunting,
stolen a lot of ideas.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying from us, this is one of ours.
Yeah.
That at any set of haunting or any of these occurrences, there is a doorway to the other side.
To the ghost party specifically.
To the ghost party specifically.
Mm-hmm.
And they're having a ghost Christmas party, dude. Like, chill.
Yeah, that's probably pretty great. Probably better than the Christmas party in Scrooged even.
That's tough.
With the photocopier.
That's tough to say.
I can't say that I said probably, so I'm just spitballing.
It's not cooler than Fezziwigs.
No, there's nothing cooler than Fezziwigs.
There's nothing cooler than Fezziwigs,
especially in the Jim Carrey version of Christmas Town.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it, man. I mean, this is like the big haunted house, on the hill because it's got this long history. It's changed sites like 100 times because it has bad luck.
Right.
And now it has this almost like yearly tradition where a Christmas tree shows up in one of the windows. I mean, is it fully paranormal? Probably not, but I like the fact that it's like someone's going up there, climbing up to like the 10th floor of this abandoned, horrific, just awful building, and putting a Christmas tree in there. Yeah, and then probably getting murdered on the way out.
Well, like that, like someone just has it all mapped out. They're like, all right, if I can't do it this year, like there's like a Facebook group for like Christmas tree in the hospital, they keep it going, which is right up our alley. I mean, if you ask me.
Yeah, I mean that's also why I mentioned the. Are you familiar with the Poe toaster?
I wasn't. That's why I made a face when you said if you know what that is, and I was like,
Yeah, it doesn't happen anymore. But every year on Poe's birthday, this guy would show up at like the stroke of midnight, or it was a very specific time. Maybe like 2:00 in the morning, and he would show up at his grave and leave cognac and two like glasses and like a flower or something.
Right.
And he did it for years, and then it became like this thing, and then people started like anticipating him showing up, and so whoever it was stopped, and then they found out that it was like a guy, and then his dad had done it, and then his dad had done it, and it was someone that apparently maybe knew Poe or something, but it was like it was a thing, and it was like.
Awesome.
It was awesome, but then like anything, a lot of people jumped on the bandwagon to like try to find it out, and it just they had to stop it.
And then there was like 37 Poe toasters at that time, and they're all like looking at each other like, damn it.
Yep, somebody showed up with a toaster with Poe's face on it. They're like, "What are you fucking? What? No."
Someone made a toaster that would put Poe on the toast when it came out.
Mm-hmm. A miraculous Poe toast.
Yeah, and they're like, "There's Poe on the toast."
Exactly.
Sons of bitches.
Or is that just Jesus with a 5 head? I don't know.
Could be. I've seen crazier images of Jesus on things.
That's what he does, man.
Yeah, he shows up in ramen and macaroni sometimes, apparently.
It'll happen.
Yeah, it'll happen. It'll happen.
All right. So what do you got for your last
All right,
entry?
my
this evening?
last entry is it involves, pirates.
Pirates.
It involves sultans,
Hmm.
or maybe one.
Hmm.
We don't know. The history's a little blah.
We like those.
We like those because and especially in when you're talking about NOLA ghosts,
Mhm.
it's all rumors most of it anyway. But all right,
Just a bunch of bugaboos.
Yeah, a bunch of bugaboos. All right, this is called the Sultan's Palace. And in reality, it's not a palace. It's, classical New Orleans, what do you call it? The, like, you see it outside of Popeyes, the balconies, they try to put them on there.
It's just the French Quarter style.
Yeah, the
I think
French
that's
Quarter
actually
style,
called.
yeah.
I think that's actually called. It's a something Spanish style. Believe it or
Right,
not. That's
right.
those are all came from the Spanish period. But yeah,
Right. So this is just one of those buildings. But the Sultan's Palace might sound like one of the many hotspots that are scattered throughout New Orleans. But a long time ago in the 19th century, it kind of was. While it wasn't necessarily a club or a bar, it was a home to a Turk who had traveled the world and spent great deals of time living it up. All-night parties were the norm at this house long before New Orleans was one of the best party cities in the world. However, the reveling was brought to a screeching, bloody halt, leaving many of its guests dead, including the owner of the home at the time. All of the haunted places in the Big Easy, this just might be one of the most haunted of them all. Let's dive into it. This place was once known the Sultan's Palace, and we'll tell some of the stories that led to the bloody events of the party that was cut short. If you ever make it to New Orleans, this may be one of those places to check out. The Sultan's Palace was originally known as the Gardet Le Prit House. The home was owned by a wealthy businessman named Jean-Baptiste Le Prit, who was of Creole descent, of course. Le Prit's business had fallen on hard times and was almost at the point of having to sell his home in order to keep his personal finances in order. However, there was a mysterious traveler that had come over from Turkey in search of living the good life in the United States of America. His name was Suleiman. It was said that Suleiman claimed to be a prince from the Turkish royal family. However, it was revealed that while his claim was true, he was the brother of a sultan who had banished Suleiman from the kingdom and was stripped of any official title that would tie him into the royal family. Due to the civil war ravaging the economy, Le Prit was at a point of desperation where he could have sold the home just to about anyone who was willing to make an offer. Le Prit accepted Suleiman's offer and to rent his home. As Le Prit left town, Suleiman was settled in and ready to bring a lot of life into the place known as the French Quarter. Before it became a party central throughout the neighborhood, the newest residence of Gardet Le Prit House was ahead of its time. A ship soon arrived in the port of New Orleans. Among its passengers were women who dressed sharp and looked like they were ready for a ball. Soon after came many artifacts and treasures that might have been worth a fortune then and now. These riches were enough to captivate the attention of the locals, who were trying to wonder who was living inside the home that once belonged to a struggling businessman. The entire city had plunged into an economic freefall. So who could have possibly lived high off the hog while even some of the city's wealthiest were struggling? Despite many revelers coming and going almost every night from what was known as the Sultan's Palace, locals were forbidden to enter the home. But those who were allowed to set foot on the steps were only allowed to leave gifts and other riches for Suleiman himself. The house, situated at 716 Dauphine, was a place where parties were ongoing and the scent of opium filling the air, and daily deliveries of gold and to the doorsteps were commonplace. So they were getting it in.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a night that was like any other at the Sultan's Palace. This, like the Sultan, quote unquote, had another one of his many parties that took place at the home. The weather outside was a frightening sight to see. A nasty storm had battered the city and kept many New Orleans citizens inside, bracing for the worst. Meanwhile, the partygoers at the palace seemed to carry on as if there was no fear. The following morning, a local man was passing through the French Quarter and had noticed a trail of blood coming from the Sultan's palace. He had notified the police of his discovery. only for the police themselves to discover what had happened to be a horrifying sight. The revelers of the Sultan's palace were all dead. Many of them were slashed to death by what appeared to be bladed weapons. The so-called Sultan was nowhere to be found. Legend says the Sultan may have been kidnapped and buried somewhere alive. Long after the murders, there were no suspects or other witnesses that came forward. Thus, it leads to a whole slew of conspiracy theories. Some had said that pirates were landing in New Orleans and had discovered the Sultan's palace only to plunder it with every ounce of riches the house was covered in and leave no witnesses to chance. Others have said the Suleiman brothers may have enlisted some of his soldiers to assassinate him for being such a disappointment of a family member. The party had come to an abrupt and bloody end on a wild, stormy night, and Suleiman's body was never found even to this day. Whether he was indeed buried alive or if he was murdered and disposed of somewhere else, the haunting story of the massacre lives on in the history books of the city of New Orleans. Now, here is the ghost stories. While the home had undergone renovations, which is going to kick up anything, and changes its ownership over the course of many decades, it had long been a place where hauntings had been regular occurrences. Past occupants of the house have reported seeing the sightings of a man dressed in Middle Eastern garments appearing on the walls of the home, only to disappear moments later. There had also been reports of phantom noises like screaming and shrieking, or on some occasions, the sound of body parts hitting the floor may have been heard. Okay, all right.
Is that a distinct sound?
Yeah,
like
right.
like body parts?
Whap, whap. Local residents passing through the home had also reported hearing chimes going off and smelling different incenses that might have been burning while there were no lights on the inside. Even the sightings of a man with a dark to light colored hair was seen peering out of the windows, looking out towards the French Quarter, only to disappear sometimes later. Some say that it was perhaps the apparition of the man that many know as Suleiman. So, I mean, it's a site of a brutal murder in New Orleans, and and there's some stories revolving around it. I'm sure there's more to report, more people that show up there and
Sure.
have their own experiences. But we're going off the legend here, and that's why I picked it. That's a crazy fucking story.
Yeah, I mean, body parts. I mean, I'm here for it.
Right. The sound of body parts hitting the floor. Why am I not, why would I not want to hear more about this?
Exactly. Good stuff, man. I mean, those are, the legendary stories are always the ones that, they're, add a little spice to the stories that are, fully historical and, have all their facts in check.
Right. Yeah. All their facts in check. That's what we're going with. The ones that were just like, this may be what happened. I like the ones where they're like, okay, look, there was a murder here. These people died. This is what happened. And then but here's some stuff that we speculated. And you're like, you peppered in there. So we're free to go what I think. What I think.
Yep.
They said bladed weapons. It might have been the samurai.
It may have been Bigfoot.
Yeah, right. Someone might have brought Stu, and the Bigfoot freaked out. He was like,
it's like catnip for Bigfoot. It's
exactly.
Stew.
It is. From Ape Canyon to New Orleans.
Hey, man. Wounded Ape Man ain't fucking around.
Yeah, he ain't.
Or Mountain Devil. Yeah. So, all right. So to end this episode, I have it's basically 2 entries, but these are more like teasers for future episodes. So the first one, with that, talking about New Orleans, you can't, go by without mentioning the Axeman of New Orleans, right?
Right.
Legendary. Yes. So I started doing my notes on it, and I was like, you know what? This is an episode. This is a full episode because it's just, it's like a mini Jack the Ripper. Because he left taunting letters to the police. Like
for months, he terrorized that city.
There's the whole thing about how he loved jazz. And then there's the night of everyone playing jazz. There's a song literally. They literally had a song that was inspired by him, and so we're gonna put a pin in the Axeman of New Orleans because this one really does deserve its own episode. So I'm gonna say this is gonna come up very soon. That we're gonna do a whole episode of this one, and then my second one, which I started going in on. Because I was like, well, let me pick a different one. But then I was like, no, this one is just as good. So when I said before to remind me about the yellow fever.
The yellow fever, yeah.
So now when you think of New Orleans, one of the other things you think of is vampires, right? So I had never seen anything before it other than I was like, all right, is vampires, was that just like an Anne Rice thing? Did she come up with that? No. So apparently there's this whole story that's linked with the yellow fever epidemic was not an epidemic. It was a wave of vampirism, which I'm here for.
Yeah. Let's go into
so
that at some
the
point.
Vampires of New Orleans is like a multifaceted tale. There's a whole thing where people even can like pinpoint apparently when they came from Europe to the New World. It's pretty deep, and I was like, you know what, this is an episode, because I was like, holy shit, I thought this was just like, Anne Rice made this shit up. I mean, no, she didn't. There's a long tradition of folks believing that like New Orleans is lousy with fucking vampires. Like, so that's got to do that one too, man. I mean, I
one
want
thing I can't stand about New Orleans.
yeah, all the damn
God, yes, vampires. Yeah.
goddamn vampires.
Right.
It's super interesting too, and I was just gonna like pick over the points, but then I was like, this is too fucking cool not to do an episode on.
Well,
so my last
that's where we're at though with New Orleans. Like, because this might have been a series, but we wanted to get some in.
Yeah, we wanted to get some in, but then like I was gonna make them 2 small versions. I was like, why? This is it's all fun and games here. So let's come back. Yeah. We're gonna have an episode on the Axeman of New Orleans, because that is just case is just amazing. There's people that think he identified as a demon, but then other people are like, oh, it's probably just a mafia hit, and I like both versions.
Yeah. What if it was a mafia demon?
Hey, I mean, then it probably would have been
Paulie Walnuts.
I don't know. He was very against that satanic sick shit.
Sick shit. Yeah, you're right.
Satanic black magic shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Then he throws a chair and says something else.
Yeah, you can't even read the guy. You can't even like read the guy with a medium. You can't have him there. He's gonna lose.
Nope. And the cat shows up and he freaks the fuck out. Yeah, we all know that one guy.
Yeah. Yes, we do. That we do.
Benjamin Franklin is the devil.
Yeah. But that being said, so like there's so much to go over. This was just our let's go over some of the hauntings, some of the ghosts.
Yeah, get some of the flavor.
Yeah, like
get a beignet.
Yeah, I was gonna say get a beignet. Get some powder on your lips, walk around town.
Ken's got some powder on his nose.
No, I don't. No, I don't. Let's put the kibosh on that legend. We're not gonna put that. We're not gonna put that in the legends category.
All right, we'll put that in the we'll put it in the ODP trash bin. We're not with that anymore. The chum bucket. That's right.
Goes in the chum bucket, man.
I mean, because then New Orleans obviously is ODP canon then.
Oh yeah, it's canon. Oh, absolutely.
Everything in it.
100%.
Everything
in it. There's not one inch of New Orleans lore that I'm going no.
Yeah.
I'm going no. One second, I'm gonna let my fucking dog out. You piece of shit. Go. He was cool. I was petting him. He was cool. But yeah, not 1 inch. There's not 1 inch of New Orleans lore that I'm saying.
Yep. Except for the mediums, but they're there just to be laughed at.
Yeah. Well, even they're kind of because they're there.
There was a body. Yeah.
It's hanging.
Yeah.
Once again, if people that don't know that reference, go to the Ghost Report. Sightings Ghost Report special.
Yep. It's on YouTube. Just watch the whole thing. I put that on just to motivate me sometimes in the morning. I put that on.
Yep.
Yep.
Oh, and a little fun fact for everyone out there that are fans of, everything that we love. I recently found out that all of MTV's Fear is on Paramount Plus.
It is.
So do yourself a fucking favor.
Yeah, because they were going to be featuring some of our favorite segments as an episode, so you might want to bone up.
Right. And that was the precursor, the predecessor to all the shows that started doing the whole rig, and going out to do missions and stuff with ghosts. And it was a brilliant fucking idea. It was a brilliant idea.
Except they changed the names of the locations, which I don't know why they did that.
I think it was because at the time it was the resurgence, right? It was the late 90s. It was like 99. Going into the early 2000s, Ghost Hunters
I think it was earlier than that.
I don't think so, man, because it was like when I was in middle school. I was 5th grade, it was 98. So when I was in like 12, when I was 12, 13, I was in 6th, 7th grade. So that was 99, 2000, 2001. That's when those started coming out. I wasn't in
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Because I remember I used to have sleepovers, and I'd be like,
Okay.
"Yeah, we're gonna watch MTV Sphere," and we're all in middle school now. So
But we want to watch the fuck you. I said
yeah, we're
it's March Madness right now.
Yeah.
Fuck you. And
Yeah. You don't fucking care. Fucking... Season 2 Eastern State's the first fucking episode. We'll
Yeah,
watch it.
exactly.
Yeah. So like, yeah, I think they did that because one, they didn't want any more trouble than they were already getting with people trying to break in.
Yep.
And two, like, they weren't really making money off it. It was like it was a re-emerging market. Like I said, this was before
Yeah.
Ghost Hunters.
Right.
This is like, because when Ghost Hunters came back, that was
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
That was it. Like,
Yeah,
when
no, this
that was-
came out and it was acceptable to have a song by Godsmack as the main theme. So that's how you know
Right.
it was in a weird, fucked up era.
Yeah, I'm not the one who's so far away.
Right.
When I feel the snake bite enter my veins,
Right.
never do I want to be here again.
Yeah. Yeah, man, there's some, we'll go into it when we go into the full episode, but man,
Right.
remember that one episode me, you, and Chris were talking about that was
Yeah.
like that, like
The Mexican beast.
Yeah, it was like a Mayan demon.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the fuck? And they kind of we thought they like partially captured it on camera.
Right. Yep.
The Nawal.
Oh.
Yeah.
I gotta watch it. I gotta watch all of it. I started to again when we started talking about it when you said
Yeah.
most of them on YouTube. But see, I have a problem. Like, I want to watch them all sequential. I want like the whole thing, and Paramount Plus has provided that to us.
Well, I'm glad.
Sponsor us.
I don't think they're gonna.
Nah.
I don't know, buddy.
I mean, we talk about Legends of the Hidden Temple a lot, so like that's all
We do, but no one's giving us any kind of credit for that.
you're right. You're right. You're
So
absolutely.
it's fine. You know what? We do it for us. It's
We
fun,
do.
It's
We
all
do.
fun and games.
We do it for us and for the culture,
Yep.
and for the paranormal culture.
The paranormal culture.
Yeah, that's what we do it for.
So, all right. So, like Ken said at the top, it's going to be just a little bit. Don't worry. Don't get scared. It's going to be, just a couple weeks. I need to move my whole family to a different state. So,
Yeah. So I got a couple things up my sleeve that'll hold your interest. I know we all love Jay. Jay's he's the patriarch of our show.
okay.
No, he's he's my guy.
He's fine.
He's fine. He's fine, guys. We know he's okay. He's all right.
Right.
But I'll find ways to make a couple weeks interesting. I'll get some episodes in there. I got a couple things up my sleeves that I'm working on here. I'll make it happen. And I mean, do we want closing statements? Do we want to do closing statements?
I'm not going to do any closing statements on this one, as we're wont to do at this point, because I think it's we left it open ended. So my closing statements were, hey, there's two full episodes coming out of this one.
Right. Okay.
So Axeman and the Vampires of New Orleans.
Ooh,
Dude, it's wacky.
it is.
I can't wait to I can't wait to show you all the stuff that I found on it.
I can't wait
Like
to.
there's this
yeah.
whole thing. It's awesome. How they smuggled their coffins in this one ship, and like I was like, is this from a book? And then I was trying to find where it was coming from, and it's
Right.
not. I was like, where is this coming from? And I thought they were just reading from a book, and they're not. Like I thought it was like from a fiction book, and it's not. I found it really interesting.
That's wonderful. No, that's
Yes.
wonderful.
Yeah.
And don't hold your breath, gang. We do have other vampire and werewolf episodes coming up and things of that nature. So
Werewolf?
with this, the werewolves.
Like the Beast of Gévaudan.
That's one of them, or the Irish, lichens and all the like. There's a lot
Okay.
coming. There's a lot coming. This is, like I said, I'm just trying to give the listeners that this isn't over. This is just a little hiatus.
No, a little hiatus, man. We got to reestablish the fort.
Yeah, exactly, and get People Like Studios running.
Yeah.
Damn Daddy Productions. It's coming. So
It is. Oh yeah. Oh, is it coming?
oh, it is. And we once again there was we had I just want to shout out to the listeners. We had this big jump the last 2 weeks, and you guys are down. You're down for the cause, and we love it, and we love that you're enjoying it, and we love hearing the feedback, and we love people that are interested. listening to what we're talking about and our shenanigans and our antics. And
yeah, we got a good response from the Laurel Hill episode.
That was
so
loved.
we're definitely going to do more episodes where we fill it with stories that we've collected from an event. So
Right.
it's coming. We also have a couple wacky ideas coming for this fall, because this October is possibly going to be the greatest October of all time.
We're hoping.
The Wawa Brochure Challenge.
Oh, do we want to say that?
No, not yet.
Okay. All right.
Just let them figure out what that means.
Yeah, let them deal with that. But I think that's going to put the end of it. Once again, thank you, everyone. Please keep submitting. Please share our podcast with your friends. Tell your friends about it. Be like, you like ghost stories? You like people that make fun of ghost stories? You like people who like ghost stories and make fun of ghost stories? Go check out Other Dangers podcast. Let them know. That's what we're going to do.
There's 50, including this. There's 56 episodes to sink your teeth into.
Sink your teeth into. Hold you over until Other Dangers podcast headquarters 2.0 is established.
Mm-hmm.
And we love you guys. And I'm going to say it for this episode of Other Dangers podcast. I'm Ken James.
And I'm Jason McKittrick.
And as always, have a spooky evening. Thank you for listening to Other Dangers podcasts. Have you encountered the Other Dangers? If so, you can email us at otherdangerspodcast@gmail.com. And if you'd like to have a discussion about the paranormal, you can find us at Other Dangers Podcast on Facebook and Instagram. There you can find submitted pictures, videos, and artwork from listeners. We are now streaming on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and anywhere else podcasts are streamed. And after listening, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so we can continue to bring you the Other Dangers.